we live. I'm doing live, y'all, just because I think it's gonna help with my streaming experience as far as my storage spaces and all that. So, of course, it's your girl, April Nicole, the Herbal Heroine of Memphis. I hope y'all are well and vibing high whenever this video finds you. It's the 88 Lionsgate portal. I want to hop on real quick and explain what that is, what to expect, what's going on, what you should be doing, okay? Let's see here. Let some more people come in. See if I'm gonna get some more people in. I'm about to start a Shadow Work Series 2. That's gonna be something exciting on the Herbal Heroine. We're gonna do shadow work. Why shadow work is important. Explaining it, because I've had a few people like reach out like, April, what is shadow work? You know what I'm saying? So I promised a couple people that I would present the Shadow Work series. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna hop into the Shadow Work series. So I'm gonna be using this Shadow Work Workbook. I ordered it off of Amazon, so I would advise y'all to, see if you can go on Amazon and find this that way, because it's an interactive workbook. So you will be able to write your own inserts, as we go through the series, okay? So whoever's in here, comment, because I'm new to this live. I don't know how it's going. Let me know that you're in here. I appreciate the like. I really, really do. I appreciate that. So, like I say, I'm new to the platform. I'm new to shadow work, but I have been going through this journey, and a lot of the things that I was led to do naturally is what I learned was shadow work. So I was like, I'm doing this healing. I'm feeling these emotions from the past, all this stuff that's suppressing me, that now my intuition is telling me that emotion probably is blocking, you something, from some kind of abundance. Those emotions that I began to recognize, they began to come up out of nowhere, all the way back from childhood, and I began dealing with them. And as I began to get more and more tapped into my spirituality, I learned that what I was feeling was what they call the shadow work. So I was more interested. I wanted to find out how to properly address the situations, and that's what led me to go into learning about shadow work, okay? So I have something. Let me see where. Let me get to my shadow work notes. I wanna. Yeah, I have been journaling. I have been writing manifestations. I've been burning manifestations this morning. Going back through my journal throughout the year. That's what this 88 Lionsgate portal is about. It's about pulling in the abundance of your manifestations. It's about bringing it into a visualization so that you can begin to embody the feeling of what you want to see come to fruition, so that you can do the work to get it done. If it's something that you want to elevate in, if you need to go back to school, you need to take more classes, this is the time that you're actually being brave enough to push these steps out to do it. You understand what I'm saying? What's up, sis? I knew it was you for shadow work. But so the Lionsgate portal is just super intentional. You know what I mean? You just got to be super intentional about your thoughts, about your goals, where you want to go, the ascension. You understand what I'm saying? If you've ascended, you've got to. It's just more and more and more and more and more. It just doesn't stop. So you just got to remember to be intentional, and remember to have your thoughts where you want them to be. If you don't want to be sick, don't be thinking that you're going to get sick. If you don't want to be broke, don't be thinking that you're going to be broke. If you want to be able to pay your bills, pay them on time, think that you're going to be able to pay your bills on time. And then not only think that, do the work, do what it takes to get all that stuff done, okay? So we're going to jump into shadow work. So why do we need shadow work? Because shadow work is a storage of the shadow is our storage point of trauma and negative emotions, okay? Trauma that has happened, negative, it could be something small. I remember one time my mama called me a wench. I was in 4th grade. She called me a wench, baby. I had to release that when I was like 34 years old. Her calling me a wench, I felt like that was just so disrespectful. I was like 8 or 9 years old. And so these are the things that sound silly but are hidden, and we have suppressed them, but it has caused some kind of blockage somewhere in one of our energy storage points, the chakra, one of your chakras, okay? So these traumas, these negative emotions, they have been internalized, okay? And we need to release these toxic patterns to prevent being stuck. And in order for us to bring in peace, we have to address the trauma or whatever the negative emotion was that we felt. Okay, it could be something as small as some constructive criticism, but you feel like a motherfucker didn't have no right to be talking to you in your business, you know what I'm saying? But at that point, it was constructive criticism, but it was something that caused you to feel shame. So the shadow is something simply that, something that at some point you suppressed it because you were ashamed, because it was something negative in someone else's eye, but it was a part of you, okay? So that part of you that someone else, may have criticized or may have said something negatively about, that's the part of you that has to be healed. Then you go in and you address those situations, and that's how you begin the shadow work, okay? So where does this trauma begin? This trauma starts way back when we enter this world, when they smack you on your, when they pull you out and they smack you, that's when it starts. Okay? Welcome to the world. Welcome to the world. Soon they snatch you out and the doctor smack you on your ass. That's your first traumatic event. Okay? So the examples of these events and negative emotions and the trauma that happens throughout our life cycle look like mental and verbal abuse, physical abuse, when we have to lose a loved one, when you lose a job and you feel like you don't know how you're going to make it, when you're homeless or you feel like you've been abandoned, some kind of abandonment. That's what I'm saying. In a lot of our culture, a lot of the trauma is from abandonment, from emotional abandonment. You could have parents that were in the house, that were raising you, that were there, that was providing, but were they there the way we needed them emotionally? Okay, so a lot of those are the emotions that the Most High want us to look at when we going in and looking at the shadow work. Okay, so you got to integrate these qualities into who you truly are. So anything that was beat down, anything that was criticized about you, you now get to go back and see it there. It's like on the outside looking in. That's why it's the shadow. So you get to see that trauma, and then you get to integrate it, and you get to bring it into who you are today, and you get to take that memory and acknowledge it, and you get to take the ego part away from it. The ego is what gave it so much emotion for it to become a traumatic event. So you check the ego when you're doing shadow work. It's a lot of ego checking, okay? Because that's what's bruised. When someone says something, it's only a bruise of the ego. So you're going to acknowledge this, and you're going to face the shadow through introspection, okay? So that way you can integrate the experiences and be aware, so that you have insight on what caused that emotion, okay? Once you get the insight on what caused the emotion. So if someone say, for example, like when my grandma, my mama called me a wench, what caused the emotion for me to be so hurt? Because I thought that was a bad word. But once I know that I've grown up, and now that I know that I'm grown, and that, you know, grown people say things, and that curse words are really is not as critical as society makes it out to be, I can look at that a different way, and I can find forgiveness, and I can forgive my mother because she's only a human, and I probably was acting like a little wench. But that's something I've got to take, uh, you know, I've got to look at that shadow, and I've got to integrate the little wench into my life. I just gotta be a little wench. Sometimes I gotta be aware that, you know, there's a part of me, the little wench. Okay? So shadow work helps you identify your fears, okay? So by identifying your fears, you're able to increase your faith. Because once you identify something that is holding you back from a breakthrough, when you identify something that's holding you back from abundance, and you stand in your power, and you stand on top of it, you realize that now over the fear I have faith. So once your faith is activated into whatever this fear is from this trauma, your faith is to release the guilt, the confusion, and the shame from all the input from that constructive criticism, and from all those buried traumatic and negative emotions that are inside of our shadow self. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at, getting into the shadow work, going into the shadow work healing. So we're going to see what part one, we're going to do the introduction, and then I'm going to close off, okay? Because I don't want these sessions, they'll probably be like 20, 30 minutes long. I don't want to hold you too long, because it's ADHD too. We have all this stuff in the shadow. So I don't want to keep you too long. Okay, so again, what exists in the shadow, this is part of the introduction. It's just saying some of your deepest hurts, your fears, and your insecurities. Shout out to the author, Joe-El Caraballo, LMHC. I do not own any rights to this. This is a great exercise book from this person. So we give gratitude for you and your creation. Okay, so the shadow often represents the parts of yourself that you refuse to acknowledge. Okay, so we could have some things that we want to suppress about ourselves because society does not approve. That's the shadow work. That's the things that you're going in, and you're going to work with the ego, and manage how you interact with with your shadow, and what the world accepts. Okay, so that's the fine line between the two. Okay, so we're going to be more conscious of our ego. They have something in here called an ego, a super ego, and your persona. Okay, so we're going to get deeper into those. Like I said, why you should do shadow work. This is just an intro to our shadow work series. Insight and self-awareness. More than anything, it brings self-awareness on who you are. It helps you understand why you make certain decisions. It helps you understand why you react to certain things, why you have certain triggers. So this is going to be a huge trigger alert. Again, I want you all to look for this on Amazon. Self-care exercises for healing your trauma and exploring your hidden self. The Shadow Work Workbook. And that's the author. If y'all can screenshot it. Order this book, okay? And it says, be prepared for digging deep. You're going to gain a deeper and better understanding of yourself. It's going to be liberating and affirming work. Okay, as you begin to do this work, you may find that negative feelings or memories are going to come up. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a lot of triggers here, because remember, you were triggered when you suppressed that emotion. So we're going back in, and we're going to find out what made us suppress the emotion in the first place. What part of the ego was tripping when we had to feel like we needed to suppress it then? So it's going to be a deep dive during this series, okay? So we're going to go to beginning your shadow work. I'm going to read this pretty much verbatim, okay? It says, learning more about yourself is a loving gesture. Whether there is a specific situation in your life that's causing you to feel out of sorts, or you're looking for more insight, this book will help you on your journey. The goal of this book is to not only give you information about what the shadow is, but also provide some guidance and direction that will help you get closer to leading the life you want to live. This workbook isn't meant to be prescriptive. However, as it can't possibly understand you and your life circumstances better than you do. Rather, this book will help you explore a new world, your inner world, with some new depth and understanding. So this is all about inner work. It's not about, your material part of life. This is really truly working on yourself, going in for your inner work. The exercises in this book will help you contact and better understand your shadow self. The goal is to tap into the not so readily visibly parts of your subconscious. With this new information, you'll be able to tap into some hidden talents, disrupt subconscious patterns in your life, and reach the next step on your healing path. The first part of this book provides you with some information on grounding, which is going to be critical in doing this hard work. It is recommended that you pace yourself and do grounding exercises before completing any entry. This will allow you to center yourself before diving into difficult shadow work. This also helps you shake off any stress that you may be coming to work with, which can cloud your efforts or possibly leave you feeling unnerved. After you do some grounding, then choose an entry that you like to address and work on. You can do the entries in order or select one that feels particularly relevant for your life right now. Read the information provided in each entry, then respond to the questions for reflection, and wrap up your session with the affirmations and potentially more grounding. You may decide to complete more than one entry in one sitting, and that's okay too. Just be conscious of checking in with yourself after each entry so as to not overwork yourself. And if you are already feeling worn out, exhausted, frustrated, or upset, that is not time to do shadow work. So that's another reason why I'm just now rolling out shadow work, sis. Because I had to not feel what I just said, overworked, exhausted, worn, frustrated, upset, all that. So I'm finally at a place where I don't feel frustrated, upset, exhausted, overworked, and all that. And I'm able to share and go deep with y'all. So that's one of the most honest things that I've learned from spirit, that I have to trust divine timing, because when you're in divine, when you're practicing in divinity, you have to be obedient to deliverance, because look how the universe works. Look how it's 8-8. It's the open portal for the Lion's Gate with abundance. And why not begin it with healing? But this is our spirit led. So with my products, with my merchandise, with everything I have rolling out, I only do it when the spirit moves me. I don't let pressure, I don't let deadlines, I don't let competition, I don't let people, I don't let anything push me but spirit, okay? So before you begin, keep the following things in mind. Take your time, okay? Exploring the shadow is hard psychological work, mainly due to our tendency to reject the not so wonderful parts of us. It can be tiring to fight your way through the mental roadblocks of internalized messages and anxious or depressive thoughts and feelings. This work takes a lot of energy. This is especially true if you work with the aim of being as honest as possible with yourself. Be sure to take your time and take breaks regularly between exercises. Don't worry, they will be here waiting for you when you return. Then he says, try to be patient. Okay? Give yourself time to learn more about you. The insight will come. Don't rush or pressure yourself to the point of mental frustration or exhaustion. Shadow work is an ongoing process as you grow. I promise you it is. And there may be some topics or exercises that you will gain deeper insight about and much more easily than others. Okay? So you may get to a challenging point as God begins to give you insight on these emotions. Once you tap in and you're really being honest with yourself about what you felt, and you're communicating with your shadow side. Spirit is saying, God is saying, this book is saying right here that you got to be patient through it, because it's going to be challenging. They call them triggers. You're going to have some triggers that are coming up. So you'll have to tap out, and that's why he was stressing grounding. So I want to go over grounding techniques before we get out of here. So have a solid support system. It says, as deep personal work can be taxing, it's critical to ensure that you have ways to support your wellness throughout your use of this workbook. Make sure you have tried and true self-care practices that are accessible. Remember, self-care only works if it's the kind of self-care that you can do. So don't set unrealistic self-care rituals. If you got 5 minutes to take to meditate and breathe, take those 5 minutes. Don't say I'm gonna do something for an hour and you don't have a free hour. Give yourself 3 minutes of meditation. Give yourself 10 minutes outside in your backyard. Whatever your grounding techniques are, just make sure that they're feasible enough for you to commit to them, okay? Lean into self-compassion. Many people struggle with being kind to themselves, but we all need to learn to embrace self-compassion to be emotionally healthy. Sometimes this can come from deeper understanding of the self, as when you undertake shadow work, but sometimes other practices of self-compassion are needed. This can look like reframing your thoughts using affirmations. I love affirmations. What you saying? I know you in your backyard with your robe and your coffee. As you should be, sis. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Yes, self-compassion. That's your time. That is yours. That's your time. Okay? And while you're doing it, this book says you can reframe your thoughts at that point. That's the time where you take for yourself to be intentional, for you to get these affirmations out of self-healing, the shadow work. So we'll get into shadow work affirmations. This is going to be specifically geared to shadow work, okay? So let's see. He says, my hope is that as you learn to walk alongside your shadow side, self-compassion can become the lens through which you learn to see yourself on that path. Okay? Why grounding is important to shadow work. Shadow work involves exploring thoughts and feelings that rest outside of consciousness. It can be difficult, tedious work to move past the daily barriers you set for yourself to avoid the shadow. These barriers, such as denial, repression, and projection, are common strategies to protect yourself from these darker parts of you. They are defensive strategies. You need them in moderate amounts, yet they require extra mental energy to work through. So you've got to have your mind strong to deal with these truths that we are about to face, okay? In addition to the difficulty of sifting through all your psychological defenses, when you get to the core of hidden parts, your shadow, you may not like what you find. After all, those defenses exist so that you do not find yourself completely overwhelmed by your shadow self. When you begin to uncover hidden parts of yourself, you can become shaken and unsettled. As a result, you need strategies and psychological spaces that provide you with security and ease. You need spaces that provide you with respite and moments to recover as you slowly learn to visit with and integrate your shadow parts. This is where grounding skills and strategies come in. The following exercises will provide you with a few options to try out grounding. These will be especially useful if you do not already have tools to help you feel safe and secure with yourself. If you have some previous experience with grounding, some of these strategies may be familiar to you. You may have come across similar versions in your personal development so far. Either way, it is critical that you have these tools on hand as you do this work. You may experience frustration, hurt, rage, or even despair as you make your way through the pages of this book. It is expected for some difficult feelings to come up as you dive deep into this work. Shadow work is never easy and often unsettling, but it's generally manageable. If you have access to supports and strategies that help you cope with difficult feelings, use the grounding exercises that follow as often as you like. Try using them before and after an entry, especially if you find the topic or theme of the exercise to be challenging or triggering. In addition, if you would like professional support, there are some resources at the end of this book that can be a helpful starting point in working with a licensed therapy. So the first grounding exercise that he recommends is connecting with your breath. Okay? So breathing is helpful, and that's a helpful grounding technique that you can use anytime and anywhere. Breathing is so incredibly effective in helping you regulate your nervous system, which often becomes activated when you're experiencing challenging feelings like sadness, guilt, shame, and so on. All of that is geared and played out from your nervous system. So breath work helps you ground. It helps stimulate, helps regulate that nervous system when it's overstimulated, okay? When you do shadow work, you are consciously inviting the possibility for these difficult emotions to come up. Therefore, you need tools to help manage stress and overwhelming feelings in the moment. Mindful breathing helps regulate your nervous system, sending the message from your body back to your brain and your central nervous system that you are in safe, secure space. So breathing exercises, okay? Next, you're going to want to take an inventory of the environment around you. Make sure you're in a comfortable, serene place, okay? Like that backyard sits in. Make sure it's somewhere where you feel safe. You want to make sure you ain't, it's got to just feel safe. It doesn't have to be your home. If it could be a park that you like to go to, it could be a place that you got at work, or somewhere where you like to dip off at work. It doesn't matter. Long as your emotion is feel secure. Long as you feel emotionally secure when you're in that place, okay? Try to be alone. If you can't be alone, try to put in some headphones or earplugs or something where you can limit the outside stimulation from distracting or disturbing you, okay? Then get in a comfortable position in your body, whether you're sitting down or laying down, whatever position feels most comfortable. But ensure that we're still talking about breathing, these breathing exercises, okay? Just make sure you're able to breathe freely. You want your diaphragm, that belly, and the air pathways to be undisrupted as possible. Make sure your back is straight, but also relaxed at the same time. Whether you're sitting upright or laying down, you want to make sure your back is straight but relaxed. And then you breathe in. Take it in from your diaphragm. Once it's in, out through your mouth, okay? So take a moment. It says take a moment to simply notice what your breath is doing here and right now. Take a note of what happens when you inhale and what happens as you exhale. You may notice parts of your body rising on an inhale, like your chest, your shoulders, or your stomach, and then deflating as you exhale. Right now, you are just taking notice of what happens with your breath. There is no need to force any change. So you're going to breathe in through your nose or through your mouth, whichever one is more comfortable for you. And you're going to you want to hold it when you inhale. You want to inhale, let it last for a few seconds. Enough time for your belly to expand so that you can have a good release as you begin to blow out. Okay, this is called deep breathing. Deep breathing exercises. There are also videos on YouTube where you can see examples. So you want to look into deep breathing exercises. These are the grounding techniques that we're going over as we're going to be doing the shadow work. Because as you get deeper and deeper, the author of this book wants you to have techniques to ground and center yourself. Okay, so breathing is the first one. So deep breathing techniques, I want you all to look that up, and I want you to practice that if you're not already doing deep breathing. Bring that into your grounding work. So let's see what else is on here. I'm gonna get off here in a minute. So we're going to do the deep breathing exercises today. This is what I wanted y'all to hear about the deep breathing, because there's a technique when you're breathing in and you're breathing out that I want to share. Okay, let's see. Okay, so these are the steps to take. This is part 1, page 25 of the Shadow Work Workbook. If you have the book, or if you get the book and you want to know about the grounding, it's on page 24 and 25. Steps to take. It says, first, it's important to create an environment and space that feels comfortable. We went over that. Once you've selected your token and placed yourself in a space that's free of distractions, sit in a comfortable position. We went over that. Once you feel present with your breath and notice that it falls into a gentle, deep rhythm, it's time to imagine a place that you feel best represents tranquility and restfulness. Okay, so once you're in tune with your breathing, you're going to start thinking about tranquility and peace and places where you can rest. A lot of people, y'all know, imagine the beach. They go, and lay out on that sand, or right where the feet can sweep over the water can sweep over their feet, and their body can still be in the sand. So you're gonna try to imagine something, whatever that tranquility is for you. Okay, it may be somewhere you've already been before. Could be a lovely home that you imagine living in. It could be your home that makes you feel that way, or like I say, the beautiful beach. It could be a place that exists only in your mind. Okay, it could be somewhere fiction. It could be you could be imagining a place that on this plane don't exist, but somewhere else it is. The sanctuary. What's up, sis? Hey, turquoise. So take a moment, imagine the details of this safe environment, okay? So once you've let your breath work take you to this place, wherever it is, whether it's on this side of the world or not, once you've gotten there, once you figured this out, now you're going to capture this moment, okay? Capture these details that's making you feel safe and secure. You're going to begin to get a clearer picture of this inviting environment, okay? Then you're going to begin to focus on all the positive healing and relaxed energy as you begin to squeeze, squeeze. Okay, this is the token. This. I done rolled over into the token grounding technique. Let me go back. I done skipped the page. Here we go. Yes. So once you get to that restful place, you want to embody that. You want to keep that with you as long as you can throughout the day. Now, what he's saying is, for the sake of the Shadow Work series, you're going to do these exercises before you go into one of the entries, as we'll be getting into, before you get into an entry, and you may need to do it after you've done the exercise and you feel overwhelmed, or if you've been triggered. Though that breathing technique is what I wanted to share with y'all today. We'll do the token technique on the next chapter. We won't do the token technique today. I want you all to just work on the grounding technique of your breathing exercise, the deep breathing. Okay, so that's your homework for tonight. Practice your deep breathing, and we will go into I'm gonna give y'all a heads up on where we're gonna start it on the entry. Okay, so it's gonna be we're gonna talk about your general vibe. It's gonna be just a general vibe. Talk about your energy, your internal conversations, and your thoughts that you feel about yourself. So I'm gonna leave you all a question for the exercise that we'll start back with. Does your internal dialogue remind you of anyone you've encountered in the past or still encounter? This could be like a romantic partner, a parent, a caregiver, or any authority figure. I'm gonna repeat the question. Does your internal dialogue, how you talk to yourself, what you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, does your internal dialogue remind you of anyone you've encountered in the past or anyone you still encounter? Okay? We're going to be thinking about when you think of your inner dialogue, what things come up often? Okay? So these are the conversations that you have with yourself. Is there a general vibe or energy that comes with these internal conversations? How do your thoughts often make you feel? Okay? So that's how we're going to jump into shadow work. This is just the introduction today, but we are going to get in touch with our inner dialogue on the next session. I appreciate you ladies for tapping in with me. Share the video. Let them know that we finna do this shadow work. Clean the city up. We're gonna clean the city up with this one. So until next time, peace and love, y'all. Hit me up.